More on our back-end infrastructure. I've been with the company now for about 10 years, and our main focus when I really started with the company was tackling, the highly regulated organizations, whether, they're legal, healthcare, financial industries. Not only our technology, but our back-end facilities that we do have globally. They are, SSA 16 compliant for your financial institutions, HIPAA for your healthcare. Obviously, our ability to, with our technology, to encrypt end-to-end, secure that, not have access to the information, allowed us to do a lot of business with those types of organizations. Oh, that kind of jumped ahead on me. Sorry about that. As I was talking about, the security is top-notch, and also redundancy. Very important thing when you're looking at cloud vendors is, obviously how many facilities they have, what kind of protection are they doing for you, outside once your data leaves your facility. So we do snapshotting within our facilities, and also everything is geo-replicated. So, if you're backing up to one of our facilities, just say, for example, in Salt Lake, that is also being replicated offsite as well. Obviously the cloud is becoming, more common and different in a lot of different industries. A lot of organizations are moving to that. But what eVault has with its experience is it really does make it easy for you to move to the cloud. We have easy ways for you to, do that one-time full type of backup or import into our cloud. We have seeding devices where you're not replicating all your information over the wire. But also within the cloud, our customers always have access to their information, from their backup data to recoveries. Also from a cloud, not only, the technical pieces. Sorry, this keeps on moving forward to make sure that it doesn't. As far as payment structure, we are more in the OpEx type of world where it's not a huge initial investment. And also the way that we store the information, we do make it very cost-effective, pay-as-you-grow type of model. Honestly, with any type of cloud offering, you need a simple deployment, very easy to use. We have customers getting up and running in days, not months or weeks or more weeks to follow with that. Most of our installs, they have information being imported in the cloud in a matter of 3 days, and they're up and running within a week. And the key thing is, with any type of disk-to-disk or cloud model, is eliminating the manual process that goes with that. Sorry, I'm having Mac issues today. But eliminating the manual backup process as far as, people dealing with those tapes, the off-site component of getting those tapes off-site, and then the more complicated type of restore process that I'll touch on. I know today's focus is the I series, the IBM I, but I did want to mention that eVault has been around for a while, and we support basically everything that's out there, from Windows to VMware to AIX to Linux. So this is one type of solution that you can use for everything in your environment, and rely on one vendor to protect everything in there. Typically, in the I-Series world, it's different shops of, hey, we're doing, either iTerra replication or BRMS, and a group managing that, versus the Intel side using Symantec. This is one solution to cover everything in your environment. So we support the IBM I, obviously the DB2 on there, but also we have plugins for, SQL, Oracle, Exchange. From our product suite, as I was saying before, it is really about the flexibility of the solution. So the eVault Cloud, what that offers you is you can back up directly to the cloud. We have different deployment options where you could have a local device where you back up to first, for especially nice for local recoveries that replicate off to the cloud. Some of our customers, even though the majority are cloud-based, some choose to run a private cloud, so we are a software company. You can purchase that software and actually run it in-house if you choose to. The middle section is really where we separate ourselves from all the different cloud backups that are out there. Is we also do disaster recovery for our customers. So not only are we protecting and storing your information, in case of a failover for, your I-series, we have, IBM hardware, L-powers out there that we can recover the systems within guaranteed SLAs and give you secure access to those systems when they're running within our environment. As I was saying, the third thing is about our appliances. We are a software company. You aren't bound by buying our appliances, but we do have appliances that you can run, back up to locally or put them at different offices, and they're very scalable from, small sizes from 1 to 3 terabytes to larger appliances that store hundreds of terabytes on those appliances. Some of the key functionality from the technical pieces is, deduplication, which is a very common phrase today as far as, how are we compressing, efficiently storing, and capturing blocks of information. Not all deduplication is created equal. The way that eVault does it is we actually do it from the front end and the back end side. So we're efficient before we send information over the network, and also further reduce that storage footprint on the back end, and we do it post-process. I'll get more into that, but the eVault Delta Pro patent technology and how we actually handle our deduplication and the efficiency of giving you timely, efficient backups offsite. We do advanced compression. So on DB2, we're compressing 10-to-1 SQL, Oracle databases, 8-to-1, most of your file information 2-to-1. We have, our technology will adaptively know the type of object that we're backing up and know what kind of compression to use. So if it's DB2, we know that we can honestly just compress the heck out of it. So we'll compress it as most as we can to save you on the efficiency and what you're storing in the cloud. But if it's an image, our agent won't waste overhead trying to compress that type of object. Security, which is probably the most important thing when moving out to the cloud, is with our technology, we are encrypted end-to-end. So when the information, the agent that sits on your I-series system pushes the information off to the cloud, that goes over an encrypted port, and that's encrypted at AES 128. And then the data itself is encrypted before it leaves and stays encrypted on the back end. What that means to you is even when your information is stored on the cloud and is being managed by eVault employees managing the vault in the cloud, we don't have the access to your information because that encryption key lives on the agent side that you're the sole owner of. Simplicity. Any solution that you want to go to, especially for a backup or recovery in the cloud, you want something very easy to use. As I was saying before, most of our customers are installed within hours to days. Most of the administrators that I work with on the I-series side, we are command line interface, very similar to your system commands today. Honestly, learning our interface and our technology, you can learn it within an hour of us walking you through it. We talked about the data centers on the back end and our flexibility with our cloud deployment options. And the one thing that I wanted to stress again is the flexibility with the solution. So, you can go straight to cloud. You can do a hybrid model where you're backing up locally or your different offices first and going to a different location then off to our cloud. And we are a software company, so you do not have to buy our hardware, but we do offer it. And it is nice that we fully support it, one-level support, but we don't force you into that option. And then the cloud to disaster recovery piece, where we guarantee different SLAs that I'll talk about further. More about the agent on the system and how it pushes the information off to the vault. So in your environment, I've been working with our company for about 10 years where I'm supporting multi-L-power system to one single instance there. Very easy to use. We're simply installing our agent software on a system that we want to protect. From there, you're in full control over what you want backed up, what you don't want backed up. Obviously, we support the I-series, but all other platforms as well that applies here. And then our Delta transfer process. So the agent always securely initiates, whether it's a backup or a restore, with the vault. The vault's never coming into your environment. Big security type of thing. So, when you're, sending out information, you're not opening up ports, so the vault's coming into your environment. The agent itself is always initiating that transfer process. So it's very safe, secure, reliable, and very efficient over the bandwidth. And the vault is really the flexible piece of our solution where, as I was saying, that vault can be locally and then replicate off to our cloud, or you can go directly to that. But it's simply, where is that vault located and who's managing the vault? That gives you the deployment option that you're doing. The vault itself is our back-end piece. It isn't like a one-to-one ratio. If you have iSeries, you don't need a separate vault. One vault can support, all your different systems in the environment, manage the retention policies, but also the vault does further deduplication from the Delta Pro technology when it sends the information there. So really looking at the technology itself, there's a lot on this slide, and I'll try not to read through everything here, but a real nice example is say, hey, I got a terabyte of information on one of my LPARs that I want to protect. I'm using nice round numbers so my math is accurate today. But eVault itself, if we're backing up a terabyte of iSeries information, what we do is we do a one-time full backup. We call that the seed in our world. You only have to do that one time, and you never have to do that again. The seed can be done to a local appliance and send offsite if you don't have the bandwidth to do that. Also, you can, if you have a lot of bandwidth, or we have deferring options that you can span that over, hours, within the week. But very simple, easy to do. Once that information is transferred over to the vault, it's imported in. But moving forward, what you're doing is a Delta backup in the eVault technology. So when we're backing up information, if we're backing up all your libraries on the system, your IFS information, system information, whether it's user profiles, configuration objects, what we're actually doing is we're looking for change blocks of information, and we look at the change 32K block level. The agent itself scans the information, first asks the question, hey, has this object changed? If it hasn't changed, we just move on to the next object and make that backup very efficient and fast. If it has changed, we open it up, only extract the change blocks from there, adaptively compress that information, encrypt that information, and push that over to our vault. On average, what our iSeries customers are seeing with that, 10-to-1, 8-to-1 compression, and only taking change blocks of information, if we're backing up a terabyte of information, that one-time full backup may be, maybe 150 gigs. Now, moving forward, all backups after that are only going to be maybe 1% to 2% of that original data size. So that means for every terabyte that you're backing up, the eVault technology is only picking up 10 to 20 gigs of information. What that means to you is, hey, number one, faster backups. Obviously, backing up 10 to 20 gigs is a lot quicker than backing up a full terabyte of information. Number two is you need bandwidth to get it offsite, but you don't need a lot of bandwidth with our technology. Typical customer, for every terabyte that they're backing up off to the cloud, they probably only have a 3 meg pipe using our technology. And then lastly is the storage footprint. Obviously the way that we, sell and charge, we have to be optimized on the back end, so we can store a lot of information, keep your retention policies, where you can keep your dailies, monthlies, weeklies, annuals, all stored on the vault in a very small disk footprint. Most of my iSeries customers, after a year's worth of history, are keeping less than their original data size. So for a terabyte, you're keeping less than a terabyte stored on the back-end vault because of our Delta processing. And then lastly, one thing I forgot to mention, and probably the most important, is from a restore standpoint. Every backup that you do, even though it's a Delta, it still represents a full in a recovery perspective. So you can roll back from last night or a retention that you had from a week or 6 months ago. It still looks and appears to you like you're doing a full backup from a recovery workflow perspective. The way our vault handles and stores and indexes that information, that's why we need the one-time seed. And then we index and store that information into our storage pool, so it always represents a full recovery to you. The IBM iAgent itself, as you see on the right-hand side, black and green screen, which a lot of our iSeries administrators are used to and like. The install is very quick and easy. You can take our software from our website, download it as a save file and FTP it to the 400 or burn it to a CD, install it. It's very lightweight, maybe less than 50 megs in size. We're just installing our application library. We put a directory on the IFS to keep information about your backups. But it's a very easy to use interface where you can define what you want backed up, schedule it, kick it off, easy to access your information from a restore perspective. Also, we send you alerts and notifications throughout, so the agent can notify you if you have a problem within the backup, so you're not in our interface on a daily basis, which really reduces, the management part of it. Obviously, you want this to be all automated and scheduled for yourself, and most times you're just letting those backups run and get off-site. But when a problem does happen, you want to be notified about it, which eVault alerts you from the agent side, and also we can alert you and report on the Vault side as well. We do support, just like your system commands today, hot and cold backups, full protection of the system, so we're not just taking library information. We can back up all the libraries on the system, whether your user libraries, IBM libraries. We capture the IFS, system information as far as like user profiles, configuration objects. A really nice thing with our technology, especially on the iSeries, is most of our customers are mostly DB2. IFS is a little bit different. Maybe there's some images there, but typically 95% of the information that we're backing up on there, we can compress 10 to 1 just because DB2 is so padded. In a multi-LPART environment, you're not running backups, waiting on the tape library, running them one after another. I mean, I got customers, backing up 20 to 30 different LPARs all simultaneously, having multiple jobs on there, so everything can run all at the same time, all concurrently. We can also back up your spool file and older information like QDLS. Now that I talked about the agent itself, kind of a nice segue, and I've done most of the time talking about, the backup piece of it and how we get the information out there and how we efficiently store the information. What we do is we do disaster recovery for customers. So customers that back up to the cloud, it's completely optional, but more for your critical systems. So maybe, you got different systems, maybe your iSeries or other systems interacting with that. You can put in part of our, what we call our CDR, our Cloud Disaster Recovery Program. And the key thing here is, our technology really does allow for you to easily, get this off to the cloud and have us, quickly recover the information, give you secure access to it. But you're really teaming with a team of experts. As Steve was saying, their expertise in the IBM world, we really have expertise in the recovery. So we've done a lot of different recoveries. All iSeries systems aren't created equal, so it's really that staff that manages that is our biggest selling point, when we provide this service to customers, where they've seen a lot of different systems, a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different recovery workflows, but it's really our team. It is the most important thing with our CDR type of offering that we have. For iSeries, we do support 24 and 48-hour recovery SLAs, which are guaranteed. As I was saying, we have a lot of experience in this. Hurricane Sandy comes to mind, where we recovered, over 12 different customers. I think the longest, we do guarantee those SLAs, but I think the longest that it took us on the biggest system that we had was we actually recovered and gave them the access to it within 12 hours. And then from there, we are an extension, so you don't have to go out, reallocate and get new hardware right away, find a different site. It's as easy as you picking up the phone, calling your dedicated team members on that team, declaring a disaster, and we recover it for you. Also, with that, we don't limit you on how many recoveries that you do per year, but also customers are leveraging this from maintenance or upgrades or planned outages that you have within the area that can be an extension of, the cost of getting a different DC within your environment to do so. And kind of lastly, last slide that I have is just kind of talking about the DR package itself, and then we'll definitely open it up for questions for everyone. But the DR package, we really do take a hands-on approach. The engineer, somebody like myself will be planning this, coordinating this with our CDR team that's dedicated to you. But obviously we'll have pre-planning calls, do a site assessment, a configuration, understand the backup policies, your retention policies, your RTOs, RPOs that you're looking for, and really, before we start implementing, really understand your environment and what you're looking to do. From an installation side, typically, as I was saying, backups take, a matter of days, but we do take some planning with CDR, where it's more, weeks after the initial, sign off, because we really do want to understand your environment, understand the network side, whether we're putting VPN clients on systems for users working at home or a VPN tunnel that if you're working out of a different office, to understand, your backup policies and your network configuration. Also, part of this is a DR test. So a lot of the companies that we work with, that they are doing, DR tests, more with tape on an annual basis. We do this, but we also do it with all systems within there, which from my experience, a lot of companies don't do, where, hey, let's take all 20 different systems that interact together and let's bring those all back together, because obviously that's a more complicated process, and that's part of, the DR test that we do in part of our CDR offering. Also, from a documentation standpoint, we document end-to-end everything that we do. Not only lets you and your personnel understand, your backup process, your recovery workflows, but also a nice guide for, you to use from an auditing side. So from here, it's definitely, a consulting type of service, something that we really take pride on, and something that does separate us from, the other vendors that are out there. With that, I'll kind of open it up to Stacy and Steve and kind of open it up for questions for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. That was fantastic. It was a very nice summary and a nice overview. What we'd like to do is see if any of you have any questions. If you're not familiar with the web interface, there is a little toolbar or a control panel at the top right corner. There's an orange button with an arrow on it. You click on that, it opens up, and there's a box in there that you can type in a question, and we'll see if we can stump Sean with any of these questions. So, Stacy, do we have any questions yet, or can you tell if anybody's typing?
So while we're waiting for questions to come over chat, I know there was a customer that had a question before the webinar. They asked if we upgrade or move to a new iSeries system, is a reseed required?
Yeah, thanks, Stacy, and thanks for the customer for asking that. And the answer is no. So, obviously, the eVault technology itself, we store, in the way that we do basically our Delta technologies, we use index files that are stored that the agent compares against. But that is also stored on the Vault as well. So even when a customer moves on to new hardware, we basically do a sync that takes minutes to do, pulls back those index files. So even when you're doing your next backup on your new hardware, no reseed is required, and that also applies with upgrades.
All right, thanks, Sean. One of the things that we would like to do is follow up with each of you individually with an IBM I engineer and an eVault engineer to see what your strategies are and what your needs are in cloud backup and recovery. So if we don't have any more questions coming in, that's our next step. We'll follow up with each of you. And I appreciate everybody showing up today. Stacy, am I forgetting anything here on the end of the session?
I see just one other question. It says, is the agent continuously running on our iSeries box, taking CPU?
The answer to that is also no. The agent runs as a batch job. Customers are in full control when it's running, whether you're scheduling that once a day or more times per day. The agent is only taking CPU when it's actually running the job or initiating restore. And most systems, when we're doing those Delta backups, we take less than 5% of the CPU. Thank you, Stacy.
Right, but this is Kevin Sean, and I do have a couple of questions that came in through my side. First of all, when you get a chance, does this replace BRMS?
Yes, typically we are a replacement for BRMS. As Steve was saying, I mean, if you still want to go to tape outside of eVault and do things, we don't have to get rid of it per se. Typically, customers that move with the eVault technology do want to use that moving forward, but they do have the option. If you are running BRMS backups and eVault backups, you just got to make sure that you're not running them at the same time, so we're not overlapping one another or conflicting with one another. But typically, we are a replacement for BRMS.
Okay, and there's a question that says they can have their data stored outside the U.S. Can you handle this? Can you restrict the cloud vendor to only have their data in the U.S.?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, we put them only in U.S. data centers to go in there. I mean, also, you know, we have Canadian-based customers that can't go into the U.S., so we keep them also within Canada as well. So, yes, that can be done.
Okay. And then this one comes from Sylvie. Will this require a dedicated server on the client side?
No. We do have that local vault that is optional that the customers can back up to. We do like having that being like a dedicated server or dedicated VM running our vault software, but that is an optional piece. That's the customer's call, where our agent is efficient enough where you don't need a local appliance or a vault there or a server there, where they could go directly off to the cloud and not have that hardware there if they choose to.
And if they have a local vault, in other words, if they keep it locally, does that require anything?
If they have a local vault, I mean, you know, just the size of that vault and the space for that. When they go off to the cloud, we actually have a service that remotely manage that, but they would just need the rack space, where typically, you know, it's a 2U or 3U server within there if they choose that option.
Okay. Leland asked a question, can you do a bare metal restore with your product?
Yeah, with our product, we do on the new system that you're recovering to, you do need a bare OS and then our agent installed, and then from there you can recover everything back from eVault. So, you know, we are getting rid of your daily tape process, but typically what customers do, even with our CDR offering, is you don't have to do a full backup anymore outside of eVault like a Save 21, but to do a Save Sys or a Save 22 to capture the OS and use that as the baseline in the recovery. So you install that, then you need the eVault software installed on there, and then the eVault software can recover everything else from the vault. Also, with that said, when you're recovering from the vault, and something that I forgot to mention in the presentation is, you know, you don't have to recover from the vault directly or over the wire. Obviously, we can export that information onto a device, and if the customer is recovering back locally, send that to them so they're recovering all their information at land speeds versus over the wire.
All right, and then Al has an add-on question to that. Can your restores be performed at an object level?
Yes. Yes, so we can restore, when we're restoring information, it's the same as like a restore object. Actually, our agent, kind of a very good question there that I forgot to mention is, we're calling a lot of the same APIs as accessing objects or restoring objects, but it's the same granularity as a restore object. So you can restore everything within that backup job or go down to the individual object, whether it's a file, program, whatever it may be, and restore it that way.
All right. And Kevin Coleman has two questions for you. Number one, what's the average reduction in backup time using your appliance solution?
That's a tough one. All systems are a little bit different, but I would say 50% reduction on average what we see. Sometimes more, sometimes less than that. It really, we do take a scope to look at the environment, understand how they're deployed as well. If they're running locally, obviously that improves things because we're running at LAN speeds versus over the wire where it's more bound on the bandwidth that we're using to get it offsite. But somewhere around there.
Okay, and then he also wants to know, can you back up multiple LPARs simultaneously to the appliance?
Yes. And we are built that way. The appliance, actually our Vault software, you think about it, we're managing, as I was saying, 40,000 customers and hundreds of petabytes. It's built and designed that way where we can actually have 500 connections per Vault head running simultaneously. So absolutely, it's the best way to do it is to run that all simultaneously.
All right, and Sylvie asked another question here. Do customers typically do tape backup in addition to offsite eVault backup?
Definitely for that save sys periodic backups, and that you typically do that when you're applying PTFs as that baseline in recovery. So yes, you can do that to tape or to DVD and save it that way and use it in there. I would say, I definitely have, customers, I would say maybe, less than 20% that are also keeping tape as well and doing like periodic monthlies or anything like that. As I said, we just got to make sure that we're not running at the same time. But we do have some customers doing that. And it's the customer's call and their option to do so.
Okay. Daryl Flowers wants to know cost, big question mark, 3 terabytes with 3 LPARs.
I'm going to pass that over to Steve and the sales team. I'm the technical person of the presentation, but we can do it pretty cost efficiently.
All right.
Well, we'll do those one by one directly with the client because I'd have to refer to the price book and all that.
And I'm just reading the questions here, Steve. Don't blame the messenger, but I just didn't want them to think I'm only reading some questions.
No, I wish I knew that off the top of my head, Kevin, and for the customer's sake, but unfortunately I don't know that off the top of my head.
And not a problem, Daryl. I promise Steve and his team will get back to you with the cost of what a solution looks like. All right, now I got Leland asking another question here. I also use BRMS to archive and retrieve files. How does this work with the cloud backup?
So we would be a move forward type of solution. So are they actually pulling information off the server and archiving that way? But I mean, with that said, every environment's different. I mean, all iSeries hardware is not created equal and how fast our agent can run on there. So, but we do have good metrics when we look at a customer's environment. I can very easily say, hey, this is how long our backups are going to take and this is how long our recoveries are going to take based off of, all the other customers that we have out there.
All right, and then I got Scott asking a question. If this, first of all, it can eliminate tape, but is it HIPAA compliant since it encrypts?
Yes, it is. Our facilities, when it's going offsite, we do meet HIPAA compliances.
Okay.
Very good question. Very good question. I've got a lot of customers. I was going to ask that myself because I know I have a lot of customers asking about the HIPAA requirements. So thank you.
Can we repurpose one of our existing servers to be an eVault appliance, or does it require a hardware purchase?
They can use their own hardware if they choose to.
Okay, so it's just
You
that
don't have to buy the appliance. We have it through us in very cost-efficient models, but with different deployment options, everything like that, we have a lot of customers repurposing their own hardware.
Okay, and then Kevin got back to us with a clarification on his question. I meant to say, will your solution integrate/use BRMS or replace BRMS?
It's more of it's a replacement. We don't integrate in any way with BRMS. We're kind of a move forward solution versus BRMS, but we'd be a replacement for it.
All right, well, that is all the questions I have, and we really appreciate you asking these, because it's always nice that people are interested in what we're doing. I really don't have anything else for you guys. If you want to wrap it up, Steve.
Yeah, Kevin, I think we have the ability, or we have been recording this session and the presentation, and what we'll do with this is we will send everybody a thank you note for attending, along with a link to be able to watch this presentation again or share it with some of your colleagues. Along with that, we're going to follow back up with you to see if you'd like to engage with a one-on-one with an eVault engineer or an IBM I engineer. And we really appreciate all the attendance and all the great feedback and questions. That was fantastic. Anything else, Sean? Or
last words?
Please. I'm sorry?
Sean, you have any last words before we close the webinar?
I didn't want to interrupt. No, I just wanted to thank everyone for their time today. This was really good, and I appreciate all the questions. And looking forward to possibly talking to you more on a one-on-one basis to learn more about your environment and your needs that way. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.